Welcome in James Ham of the Insiders, our Kings Insider. The Kings beat the whole deal with us here. All right, James, we've break the trade. What is it? You've got it. I know you've been waiting. What is it? I know you've been waiting, James. What is it? Zach LaVine. Huh?
There's
What do we
like
got?
5 different trades that are like floating in different ways
I'm
that
ignoring all of. Are there any in your phone? Because if it's on social media, I'm pretty much just ignoring it.
yeah, like have I got some stuff sure that may or may not happen, but I don't trust anything at this point. Like that's where we're at, man. And the last thing I'm doing is listening to some of these deals that are coming out of San Antonio, just straight up. Like if San Antonio doesn't want to play ball, that's fine. You don't get De'Aaron Fox, and the Kings will move on and figure something else out. I think we've all said this a couple of times. Like, look, the risk, like, sure, you might get a little bit less if you trade him to somewhere that he doesn't really want to go. Um, but that's better than taking a really bad deal, and it probably won't be less for him to go somewhere else. So, yeah, if San Antonio doesn't want to like realistically throw a uh, a strong offer for De'Aaron Fox, then I think the Kings will either A, keep him, or B, look to move him somewhere else and let that team deal with what happens next. Because that's the deal. Like the Kings have a year and a half of De'Aaron Fox, they can keep him all next season. And heaven forbid, what if he makes All NBA after that, and all of a sudden he's eligible for Supermax? And would he want to leave or would he not? And so those are things that the franchise has to weigh. But I certainly would buy myself some time here at the least, if I'm not comfortable with what San Antonio is offering right now, and then move on.
Let me ask one more thing, real quick. Do you have enough in your conversations to feel like this probably isn't a deal between Sacramento and San Antonio, or maybe more specifically stated, do you feel like you have enough to say this isn't a deal between just Sacramento and San Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I think that it could get way more complicated and way bigger, like very quickly, right?
Yeah, I feel like they're in the complicated stage right now.
Yeah, but I think they're in two different complicated stages. Well,
Oh, good, great, because that's better than
let
being
me
in one.
let me tell you, like, what I think is happening right now. They've got option A, you trade him, and whether that's a 2-team deal or a 4-team deal. Like if you're a team like San Antonio and you're a team like the Kings, we can all do basics and look at San Antonio's roster and come up with a fair trade between the two and have it stay within 2 teams and look at the draft picks and have it make sense for both teams. That's not hard to do. Now, some of these trades that are circulating out there, this Zach Collins, uh, Trey Jones, and Keldon Johnson deal. If I'm the
Block.
Kings, with 3 first-round picks, whatever, I just not only do I hang up the phone, I just tell anybody who's involved, like, we're not calling them back, like,
Yeah, no, they're
unless
blocked.
yeah, unless they call back
Block
and
bragging rights number.
yeah, all 3 of those players are better players, and not one of those players are involved in the deal. I'm not having a conversation with you. Like, I like Trey Jones as a player, but he's under contract for this year at $9 million, and then he's gone. And then nobody in their right mind would take on $18.5 million of Zach Collins next year. I don't care. And like someone out there could say, hey, well, it would be an upgrade at your center position. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not paying 12 million. I mean, 18.5 million for 12 minutes a night of Zach Collins, because
Yeah,
that's
to
all
be
he's
clear,
playing.
you meant your backup center position.
Yeah, 18 million for him. Even Keldon Johnson, 17.5 million, 17.5 million. I'm not paying Keldon Johnson $35 million over the next 2 years. I mean, that right there is like the similar contract, similar style type of player that you keep getting, whether it's the Harrison Barnes deal or whether it's Kevin Herter. That's the same thing. So you're not going to go back so far in talent. And when you hear like the reports out of San Antonio, oh, they're going to take our 3 bad contracts and give back De'Aaron Fox. Like, if that's the case, hang up the phone. Like, if you're Monty West, like this is part of your legacy as a general manager, part of your resume. You make that deal, like, good luck getting another job, because that's just not good enough, just straight up. And so look, if that's where they're at, so that's number one. You deal with those guys, and again, you can do a 1-team deal there where you don't have to involve anyone else, because that's when it gets complicated. They have at least 6 different ways that they can match salary for De'Aaron Fox, and maybe a player that the Kings have, maybe like mix and match. There's so many ways to get to De'Aaron Fox's $35 million and to satisfy the Kings with draft picks, but that ain't it. The first trade that we're hearing, that ain't it. Then the other thing that the Kings can do is they can hold on to him and just wait out the summer and wait till this summer, and they can try to make another deal then. And that, of course, has its own question marks. Like, will De'Aaron Fox just opt to have finger surgery and like work out and make sure he's 100% healthy for whatever team he plays with next? Will he decide to stay here and play out the season and play hard with his teammates and maybe make a run, and maybe you make some sort of difference here? Or the third one, what if the Kings are aggressive and go out there and attack the trade market? And I'm not talking John Collins at this point. I think, it's possible John Collins is still an option, but like, you probably need to go a little bit bigger if you're going to impress De'Aaron Fox right now. And that's where I think the Kings are trying to balance out right now. What is the biggest deal that they could do? What is the biggest change that they could make right now to appease De'Aaron Fox and make him at least contemplate staying? And can you do a mega deal without, damaging everything that you have? And we'll see. We'll see if that can happen. But you brought up Zach LaVine there, whether it's Zach LaVine or it's somebody else. Let's not forget, like, I know this shouldn't make that much difference, but sometimes it does. But Zach LaVine is also a clutch guy. And do you kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Do you, make Rich Paul happy and De'Aaron Fox happy at the same time, and get him more talent, and also find a clutch player a really nice landing spot? It's just, what would that take? And that's going to get complicated, because that would require a third team. I'm almost sure of that, just because if you're going to do that trade, probably the piece going out, in addition to other pieces, is DeMar DeRozan. And I'm almost positive, per cap rules, he is not allowed to be traded back to the Chicago Bulls right now. So that would require him going somewhere else. But there's only a couple of ways to get to $42 million.
Salary with someone from San Antonio? Yeah. Like that.
Well, I think
the team would be San
He's saying
Antonio.
no San Antonio. He's saying De'Aaron stays, you get Zach.
Oh,
LaVine
I don't see that.
And that's what I was.
I see a 3 team. If Zach LaVine winds up in Sacramento, it's because of a multi-team trade.
I didn't mean to speak for you, him. That's what you were thinking, right? De'Aaron stays, you bring Zach LaVine in, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is a possibility that there is another mega deal out there that they go. And I don't know that Zach LaVine is the type of mega deal that I would be like circling, but I do think that there is a possibility to go get somebody that maybe we're not looking at right now. They could come available for the right price. And,
Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
James hates everybody. You're not going to like any name. Look, James, it's going to be Zion, it's going to be Bradley, or it's going to be Zach LaVine, not Collins.
If that's the case, I don't know why you would put a bad product on the floor for a couple of years. You might as well just go get draft picks.
I think you get draft picks in that regard too. I think you get a lot of draft.
I'd also say, like, look, I think the other clutch guy that's out there is Brandon Ingram. Like, maybe Brandon Ingram makes sense. Maybe you're able to make a run at Brandon Ingram with. Yeah.
Is he? I'm serious.
Barely.
Is he? I'm serious. He's not playing, right?
No, he's not playing at all.
I'm sure he'll return in time for the 3 games versus Sacramento.
I will say this, to be fair to him, why would he come back? Like, you're being traded.
Yeah, he should.
Like, you could be healthy.
He should have a personal day like Zach LaVine has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd want to talk to Rich Paul when it comes to Brandon Ingram and say, hey, what's the real number for this summer that he wants to sign for? And because you can work out something there and where he would stay longer term. And worst case scenario, what you could do is purge some of your salary moving forward. But again, I would at least consider that as like some sort of option, but I don't know. This is complicated, man. There's all kinds of things that are happening around the league, and I know someone, Jay here in the chat says, I scoff at Zion, but okay with Bi. Yeah, man, Zion's played like I think it's right around 50% of his games in his career. Like that dude just doesn't play, and you got to pay him. And sure, he's great when he plays, but he just doesn't play, and it is what it is.
So and James did an excellent job laying all that out. And as a true journalist, you give all options, all possibilities. I believe the keep De'Aaron, try to convince. I think that's way out the window. Like I don't think there's any scenario where they would, or I don't even know if the Kings should consider keeping him and trying to, find a way to get him to stay. Because I just think he's gone. I think that window's already been open, and they wanna jump right through it.
Yeah, I don't totally agree. I think that there is a way to try to lure him back in and make him part of what's happening. Whether you can, accomplish a big trade without him being involved or not, I don't know. But there is a huge danger in going out and getting a piece that 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 doesn't make sense for your franchise. Um, I just don't know. Again, looking at the contracts, looking at, again, Zach LaVine, like Zach LaVine didn't all of a sudden become much more appealing. The problems with Zach are he doesn't play any defense at all, and pairing him in a backcourt with Malik Monk would just be crazy. I also don't want to become the Bulls West Coast team, and do a trade for Zach LaVine that did not include DeMar DeRozan going somewhere else. We've already seen what that looks like, and I don't care whether it's they didn't. You can say they didn't have Domas there, or they didn't have, Malik Monk there, but like still, I don't care. That's not a good mix. We already saw it, and it didn't work out. So like again, I think that there are these like ways in which you can improve your team, and maybe take a big swing while leaving De'Aaron Fox on the team. And worst case scenario, I think you at least extend to this summer and make sure that you have the right guys in place making the moves for you. And I don't know if that's the case at this point. Well, actually, I do not think that that's the case at this point. I think they do need to at least get through the trade deadline. And if they can't pull off a deal to make the team better right now, I would just look to like what's next for this franchise as far as the front office.
See, because I could see Fox and Rich Paul, they go out and get Ingram, LaVine, something like that. Oh, look, man, we're trying to make these win now moves. And they would say, you guys do whatever you have to do that's best for your franchise. Don't ask us about nothing. They ain't gonna say no, because they don't want it on their hands saying, well, we asked for help, and they asked for our advice, and we said, yeah, Zach LaVine would be good, but now we still want to leave. They're just like, look, don't ask us. Do what you feel you need to do for your franchise and leave it at that. Because I don't think they want to be here. I don't think they want to be here.
I don't know. That's not what I totally hear, that they just don't want to be here at all. So, like, I think there is a way, but again, I don't think it's just you get through the deadline and you made like a John Collins acquisition and that made everything better. There still would be like a very like honest conversation about who is running this team moving forward, because I think that they would want some say in that as well. And I know that sounds crazy, but all right. Like it's not that crazy. I mean, if you have a couple of guys that get the entire franchise into a situation like this, someone else to dig out of that issue.
So you think this? So what would do you think the on air? because they're on the radio. Do you think the on-court product could survive the rest of the season as is? I mean, we could talk about the frustrations of not adding to the roster, but could it survive with De'Aaron Fox continuing to be on this team and marching towards, as what Shams Charania says, an inevitable end?
Sure. Because at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for your franchise. And I get it if Fox wants out, whether he's made that as a direct, he has not specifically asked for a trade. His agent certainly is pushing buttons, but yeah, I mean, I think you can survive another 3 months to get to the off season, and then work it out from there, because everybody knows De'Aaron Fox doesn't want to leave the city of Sacramento in shambles. That's not his intent here. His intent was to please get me someone better. Please go out and be active. Please do anything that would make this team have more talent and give us a better shot at winning. And for whatever reason, the front office was not able to accomplish that. And that's how we got here. Let's not forget that that's how we got here. We didn't get here by, he's being a malcontent for 6 months and blowing up your franchise like Jimmy Butler is in Miami. This is very specific. Eventually they got to a point where it's look, we asked you and you guys don't seem to want to budge. And if that's your point of view, that's fine. It's probably time for me to go. And this is probably the best time for you to trade me. So then that way you guys can maximize value and I can maximize value in my next stop. And that makes a lot more sense.
James, that the team, we're all just kind of being body language doctors, but they look a little off the other day in their first game since all this happened. They look a little distracted. I know my vibes watching the game were just a little weird, but that could just be me projecting my feelings onto what I'm watching. But did you see the same thing from them, or did they just look normal to you? Just had a bad game?
No, I mean, what they look like is, I think, what a couple of us look like 2 days ago. It's an emotionally draining week. We're all on. You can't shut off at all. And I talked about it the first day I got off the show, I went home and I did 2 other radio interviews, came back on with you guys, and then I was cooked. I need to go lay down 6 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, I was asleep. This is physically, emotionally draining for everybody because there is so many things going on, and you're reading so many things, and you're as players, they're all hypersensitive to this because this isn't, whether the 8th or 10th guy on the roster is getting traded, which is, that has its own sort of feeling towards it. This is your star leaving. And what does that mean? Especially a bunch of dudes who are here to play with that star. And so I think that the team on the floor looked like they tried to go out and play basketball. And then the emotions of the day, the emotions of the couple of days, of 48 hours kind of bled into the action and just, came a little too overwhelming. And this is a bad road trip already. We're seeing it already. This is not what this team needed if they're climbing the standings to go out and go 1-5 on a road trip, or 2-6 on a road trip or something. And that it doesn't mean it's going to get better when they get home. This thing is stuck in the middle of chaos, and it doesn't feel good, and it's exhausting.
And that's the tough part, Hammer. It feels like KC was talking about, maybe projecting his feelings on what he thought about that game the other night against Philadelphia. It's not going to get any better playing the league's best basketball team tomorrow night. And you just might go out and get beat by the Oklahoma City Thunder. You might just go out and get beat by a team that right now is better than you are, but it's going to feel different. It's going to feel like more, because now you will have lost 2 in a row. Now this road trip is bad. And you have this De'Aaron Fox in this trade deadline kind of looming over you. And it's whether it is or it isn't, the perception might not match the reality.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. The guy I feel for is Doug Christie, who there's only so much you can do to put your arms around guys and try to hold them together through an NBA trade deadline. But this thing has gone sideways. I mean, there's no question. This thing is fully gone sideways. And let's not forget about the very tight knit group that this team is. But the fact that Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox were college teammates, and he came to Sacramento to play with him. The fact that Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox instantly build this chemistry. The fact that we all call Keegan Murray Uncle Keegan because he watches De'Aaron Fox's kids. That I mean, all of these things are De'Aaron is when they call him the head of the snake. He's really I don't even want to call him the glue guy as much as he is. He's just part of the fabric of everything that's going on. And for that matter, so many people within the community who are tied to De'Aaron, whether it's, our friends with the taco truck or the restaurateurs that posted pictures of him, or, people that we know in the fan group that have become really close with the Foxes over the last couple of years. This is a highly, highly emotional moment. And kind of going back to what you said earlier, Kenny, I don't blame De'Aaron. This is well within his rights as a player. And, people guys can get traded at any moment and they have no say in it at all. And their contract just goes to a different team and they got to go live out that contract for 2 or 3 or 4 years, whatever it might be. It's a business, and it might not feel all that great from the outside, looking in, but it's also very difficult for these guys who are on the road together, kind of huddled, what is going to happen next, and they don't know either. As much as De'Aaron might know, he's not telling everybody in the room, and there's very huge possibility he has no idea what's going on, and the front office and ownership is out there doing whatever they're going to do, and then he has to live with those results when it's all over. And sure, is he part of that force this? Okay, but that doesn't change the stress of it.
This is going to sound like a shot. It's not. Jason Anderson tweeted a moment ago, according to a source with knowledge of the situation, all is quiet as of right now regarding trade talks for Sacramento Kings star De'Aaron Fox. Things can change quickly, but it doesn't sound like a deal is imminent at this time. Great work from Jason Anderson. Corroborates what we told you about 3 hours ago. Yeah. San Antonio and their reporters clearly feel different. Jason Anderson, James Ham, D'Lo and KC in Sacramento tell you a different story. All indications are now clearly from multiple sources, from multiple different reporters, is a deal is not imminent right now. Again, we're stuck right now. That's something we've heard. So, again, those guys in San Antonio, I'm sure they're doing a fine job. They're hearing something differently than we are. It's no deal imminent right now. It's from 3 different people telling you that. We'll come back. Go ahead, Hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was good. Thank you. We'll come back. We'll come back. I guess we'll close this week out. We'll close out this stupid ass month with D'Lo and KC with James Ham. Deal is imminent. Is it not? Well, either way, we'll be here for 30 more minutes on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. We're clear. Clear. I'm with James. I want a nap.
Things to do.
You know what I mean? It's just it's a stressful situation for everybody. Just be really honest. For as much as everyone has seen Rasay sitting courtside, and man, they got 2 little kids. They got a house here. Her family lives here. They expected to be here long term, and then all of a sudden it feels like they're not going to be. And this is it's not easy.
Yeah, I'd be careful about being too sympathetic.
Yeah, everybody wears it differently, man. I don't know. So
nobody's telling them they can't be here.
Yeah, if they want to be here, they can. They have a lot of control over this situation.
Yeah,
it's just I don't say mine. I think that's just our opinion. Your family's here, your kids here. Oh, you could be here. you can actually be here. Not only can you be here, we'll pay you for 5 years for like $300 million.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what they want. So when that's not what you want, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be sympathetic. Pack up. Like, it's moving sucks. Just did it 6 months ago. It's a bitch. Didn't even have to leave the state, but it sucks.
And you don't have people who you pay to do every bit of the moving and wrap up everything. And
Well, Kenny does.
Oh, got that big money.
Say, it does make it easier when you're going to a place where you can look down on the whole city.
I don't know what that is.
No, it's your house, bro. What are we talking about? Don't do that.
Yeah, for those that are new this week, Damian has a house like Bruce Wayne where he can overlook all of Sacramento. All of it.
Bruce Wayne. Like who was the other? It was Iron Man, wasn't it?
Yeah, Iron Man as well. Avengers Tower.
Yeah.
Steven Castaneda keeps bringing something up in the chat. I am going to watch this season of Survivor, and yes, Joseph Hunter is on Survivor, and I do not believe that is Katie Christensen Hunter. That is her ex-husband. I do believe that they are back together.
That's really
so. He is on Survivor.
Love wins out.
What's that?
I said that's good. Love wins out.
Yeah.
And King Boss is right. I have to water my own pool. He's right.
Not this week.
I know, not this week. Thank God. Actually, timing was perfect. Perfect.
So what happens if you don't? Like, does it crack or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to water it for like 7 to 10 days, and then they do the rest of it. I picked like the tile and all that stuff out today.
Sweet.
Pretty exciting. A little stressful because it's very overwhelming. But
and now it's getting
really early day at the Odyssey building today. So it's an early day at the Odyssey building today.
Oh yeah, they watched.
I literally think it's only 1320 people.
Man, it was such a grind. You know what I'm saying?
Left, yeah.
It's such a grind that we just had to get out of here early. Such a grind. It's
that damn rain.
It's not like they're working on the biggest story in 25 years in the city.
How many of them do you think know what we've done?
None. Zero.
Not one.
I thought about none. Not one person. As far as they're concerned, we're doing a little sports show, just being useless. Not one knows what's been going on.
Just so people do know, like on Katie's Instagram, she said, finally, I can share some super exciting news. My husband, Joe Hunter, will be on your screens February 26th as part of the Survivor CBS Season 48 cast.
Love to see
Good for her. Good for everyone involved. Never seen a single episode of Survivor.
No, I watch all of them.
Not really my bag.
Never seen one of them. Eric, I think De'Aaron continues to play. I think he absolutely continues to play.
I hope he does too. Chatty House, you're ridiculous. Seriously. Jacob Z, that's just deep cuts.
Or was Mike Brown in her way?
Come on, man.
Like, couldn't see my husband on Survivor because Mike Brown was in the way.
Come on.
All right, we're coming back, Hammer.
All right.
Maybe the fastest show in history on the longest week ever in the longest month ever.
Man, what did WWE say that one time? The greatest match of all time?
Was that Angle and no, it was Orton and Edge?
Yeah.
Yeah, Orton and Edge.
This was the greatest week of all time.
James, who wins the Royal Rumble tomorrow?
You got me.
Might be Tyrese Haliburton. Y'all think I'm playing? They're gonna find a way. Tyrese gonna find a way to get into that ring,
No, I can believe it.
not take a bump, but get into that Royal Rumble.
I can believe it.
You can jump over the top rope.
Pat McAfee
would
will.
need
Pat
that.
McAfee will absolutely be in the Royal Rumble too.
For sure.
He'll
for
get the
sure.
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll give him the
Can't
pop.
jump
in it.
over the top rope. If he rolls his ankle.
Climb over the turnbuckle.
No, he can jump over the top rope.
He's tall enough.
He could. Come on. He's probably practicing right now. He can jump over the top rope.
Bro, that fragile guy
Not to the ground.
hurt his hamstring again.
Well,
No. If I'm boom, baby.
okay.
If I'm that announcer,
Okay.
no, don't let it happen.
No. Serious question. Go ahead.
I was like, could you imagine Tyrese Haliburton out 2 to 4 weeks? Jacob Fatu kicked his ass.
Serious question. Serious
That's
question.
who's one.
What do you think Tyrese is thinking right now?
Oh, he probably sitting back with a little smirk.
I would
Ben
too if I
Lerner.
was him. I would too if I
Yeah.
was him.
What Trista said the other day, that she's spot on. Like Tyrese, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody or not. Tyrese, I don't believe would have ever done this. Tyrese would have just stayed here, and he would have tried to figure it out. I still would have
Eh.
I would have picked De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is the better player, but I
What
think-
if Indiana said, "Send me one of them"? You would have sent Tyrese.
Yeah, I think De'Aaron Fox is better.
What would you have done, Hammer, if Indiana said, "It doesn't matter which one. Send me one of them"?
It's really tough because of the money at the time. So I think I would have probably sent, and this isn't because of, I do think Tyrese is, I think De'Aaron's a better player, but I
Mhm.
think I would have considered De'Aaron because I would have been able to go back and add more talent quickly in order to build that roster, because now you're looking at like a guy on a rookie scale deal and not a guy on a $35 million deal. But I don't know. I mean, like what we know now, like Fox was absolutely incredible during the 22-23 season, and he was incredible in the playoffs until he broke his finger. And I would have definitely, like, I think he is a better player overall than Tyrese. And you got to pay for talent. So
Would Tyrese and Domas have worked together?
Sure.
In a similar way, same way,
I think
similar
so.
way.
I think
They
they'd be
would have.
really good together. Yeah.
actually, I
He
think,
had
to
like
be honest,
90 assists tonight.
I think they would have been better. Yeah. Like,
Really?
because we kept waiting for the 2-man game with Domas and De'Aaron to kick in. And just to be honest, it never really has. Like, Malik Monk and Domas have that incredible 2-man game. You go back to the last 2 seasons before this year, Kevin Huerter and Domantas had that 2-man game going. Like, De'Aaron and Domas don't get into that into the 2-man game action like all that often. And I think Halliburton is a better shooter from the perimeter. And I could see him in all of those pocket passes that Malik Monk makes all the time. And like, I think Domas would just have been like even a bigger monster than he is right now with him. But then again, maybe not. I mean, you never know. And like what Kenny said about, I think, Halliburton stayed. You think that because Halliburton would have told you the whole time he was going to stay and convinced you that he was going to stay. But players always get to this point in their careers where they're like, okay, is this where I can maximize my legacy or is it not? And if Tyrese Haliburton had the same inactive front office that De'Aaron Fox has had, again, look, Tyrese Haliburton, his front office went out and got Pascal Siakam last year. They added the other piece. They paid for that piece. They go and they do what they have to do to get better. Like, it doesn't matter whether it was Haliburton or it's De'Aaron Fox. You're still going to have the same 2 dudes making the decision, and the same two dudes that can't seem to find a way to go get a 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" combo forward that can help your roster.
Maybe, but that's not really the reason why I think he's leaving. Like, that has something to do with it, but I think there's more to it that Tyrese don't have. But I think that grouping, Sabonis and Haliburton, would be great offensively. It might be real ugly on the defensive end. Now, the Kings aren't a
Yeah.
great defensive team as it is, but I think De'Aaron Fox is one of the top two-way players in the game, and you'd be losing that. That would be tough to see how that would play out.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like Fox is just a much better defender, and he's a much better overall scorer. He's just not as good a shooter, and he doesn't have the ability to control an offense like Halliburton does. So,
Like we we have fun with it, but like that's what I was trying to say with De'Aaron Fox. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is like a true point guard. That's not his game. To me, he's more of a scorer than he is facilitator and playmaker for others. And that's not even just a nod. He's just a great scorer. Like that's why we're so enamored with Malik in that pick and roll, because Malik, one of his pluses and gifts is that he's a creator for others off that pick and roll and his passing ability. I think he does that a little better than Fox, but Fox is such a multi-level scorer sometimes and so fast. Like that's his strength.
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Fox is just a phenomenal downhill scorer, and he is more of a scorer than he is a distributor. But you also like, what would that mean for Sabonis? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that the way this is played out, we have like hindsight and all that stuff, but remember when they traded Halliburton, he averaged like 14 points a game. Like he was a good ball player, but he wasn't there yet. And he goes to Indiana and gets an opportunity to just run the show by himself. And if you back up, he would not have had the opportunity to just run the show here in Sacramento because Sabonis is here and it's very different. So, yeah, I don't know. I do know that, like I was like in those games when like the Kings lost by 40 or 50 and looking at Halliburton and the look on his face and the way he hid under his hoodie every time that they got absolutely smoked by a team, that wears on you. And it doesn't matter who you are, or like there would have come a point, just like anyone else, where he would have contemplated whether, his legacy needs to be tied to somewhere they can't figure out a way to get into the competition for a title. And that's what every player wants to be. And in the end, they want to play for a title.
Is that what you think this boils down to for Fox?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is legacy. I do. I think he looks at this and the money is one thing, but he's already pretty much lost the opportunity to be all NBA. I mean, that not totally. Like again, if he just
Yeah.
takes off in the second half and
Yeah.
just like dominates the whole second half of the season and they move up the standings or 4 seed or 5 seed, that's totally possible still. It's not likely, especially with his hands the way they are. But I think as a player, you have to look and say, okay, the next contract is locking into a 5-year extension that puts you like 6 years on the same team. Like that maximum, we talk about the 5-year 295. It's on top of the year that he's already going to play. So that means you're here until you're like 34 pretty much, because it's such a big contract. You're not going to be able to move that contract for the most part. And if I'm him, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, do I want to be here for 14 years, not knowing 15 years or 13 years, whatever that is, not knowing if we're ever going to make it back to the playoffs, not knowing if we're going to be good enough for me to make an all-star team or to make an all NBA team. Like you look at that opportunity with the Spurs and there's a good chance that he's going to be on national television like nonstop. Him and Victor Wembanyama doing all these crazy things together, and he's going to get a ton of attention. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was a multi-time All-Star if he goes to the Spurs, and not only a multi-time All-Star, but a multi-time All-NBA player. And the chance of him making it to the Hall of Fame in San Antonio versus making it to the Hall of Fame in Sacramento, I would give him a way, way bigger shot at that in San Antonio. And sometimes, I don't know if this is Fox's thinking, but sometimes that's part of it. Like what is my legacy? What do I look like at the end of my career that I've left behind? How will people remember me as a player? Will I just be like a really good player who scored a bunch of points, but never would made one all-star team? Or am I a player that people are going to remember and that are going to, am I a guy who's going to get a Hall of Fame nods at some point? And that's tough.
Yeah. Well, those are real things to think about. And we haven't talked about it today because we talk about it often and we knew what was going to happen. But I think there is a real situation with acknowledgments and accolades being here in Sacramento. Like the what you have to do to get that acknowledgement seems to be, so far and away more than what others have to do around the NBA. Because a guy like Domantas Sabonis putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers, or him and Wilt are the only ones to do them. And I mean, he's not even getting talked about as a snub at this point. It's like common knowledge. And I will say this real quick, James. If I don't think this is the case, but it's been floated around, and I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. If coaches were looking to penalize Sacramento because of what happened with Mike Brown, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Domantas Sabonis or De'Aaron Fox or whoever ain't got nothing to do with Monty McNair or Vivek not having a press conference. And you're affecting these guys' ability to earn their maximum potential because you're upset because they fired a coach. If there's any truth to any coaches doing something like that, which we'll probably never know, that's ridiculous. And they need to consider getting rid of the coaches' vote if that's how they're gonna go about things.
I still think they need to consider that either way. I just don't think that it's the best way to look at it, because I don't think a lot of coaches take it serious, and I don't. And someone said something about me being Fox's PR guy. I'm just being honest with you guys. I like covering De'Aaron Fox. I would like to continue covering De'Aaron Fox, but at the end of the day, I'm being honest. De'Aaron Fox just missed out on another All-Star nod. And, 2 weeks ago, he was number 6 in the league in scoring. Again, he's not even, you're right, Kenny. He's not even being mentioned as a snub. They get to Trae Young and start throwing in a couple of other guys long before they get to De'Aaron Fox. And it's just kind of the way it is. I mean, he's averaging over 25 points a game. So.
Yeah, I think some of it, too, is De'Aaron is openly acknowledged he doesn't care.
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't help him. Yeah.
No. And
I'm not saying that makes leaving him out right, but who's writing an article about a dude who's like, I don't care if I make it.
And
we know Jokic don't care. He just don't say it.
Right. And if I'm not saying, like you said, if he's all-star, you vote for him. But if I watched how he performed, quote unquote, in that Utah All-Star game, what are we bringing this guy back for? That was in the ultimate abomination that is an All-Star game. The way De'Aaron Fox played in that game was the most egregious abomination. You could have stayed.
I think he played 2.5 minutes. But I get you. But just in his defense, and again, not to be his PR guy, his wife had a baby a couple of days before. Literally. And he had no interest in being there as an injury replacement, especially after he was named as an injury replacement when he should have been an all-star already. And the only reason he got in was because of an injury. And he knew that, and that didn't feel good either. So there he is, with a brand new baby. What are we doing here? So I get you. I just think that was one of those moments where life is bigger than an all-star game. And you kind of saw it play out that way.
I just feel like that's De'Aaron's temperament in general, but it's fine. It's just, there's consequences to that. And I think some of that stuff lives for a long time, and it sucks. But one thing that will cure it is winning with Victor Wembanyama. If you're the guy getting Victor Wembanyama the ball, you're going to get attention, and he has the opportunity to get a lot of attention in the next phase of his career, should this deal or some form of a deal between the Sacramento Kings and the San Antonio Spurs go through. I just did a quick check as Casey and Hammer were talking, and it has gotten a whole lot quieter from our friends in San Antonio. Again, we have been selective on things that we've shared with you. I'll say this, I'm pretty much talking to just Kenny. I just checked the injury report. It's completely normal. There is so much misinformation out there. That's why we try to be careful on what we relay to you and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's a bit messy out there in the Twitterverse, and now I guess from what I've been told, people are just making stuff up and tweeting it while we're on the air. Shout out to those that are at work watching the show and just tweeting. It's cool, bro. Like you don't. It's all good. Like it's fine. You're doing a great job. Just keep it moving. But goddamn, like what are we doing right now? My sources are telling me, oh, word, like you guys. Oh, now we're talking. All right, bitch, we're a week into this. Okay, this is why y'all don't tell me stuff. Leave me alone. I live my life. No, all three of you. And why are you even here? Kyle, Jesse, and KC. All three of you.
Kyle is still there because we got to go to PBR later tonight.
That's right. I forgot you're going
to
the
radio.
That's what they said.
You want a red hat with some white letters on to wear in, or maybe an American flag? Or I'm just asking. I don't know. I hope you guys have a great time.
They should play the game that we played when we were at one of those things.
Oh,
more or less.
Okay, you get a little prize picks action over there at the PBR.
We started this an hour in, and we still went over.
We did go over. I think we were at the fishing expo.
Yeah, I'd put the number at 51 and a half.
Okay, 51 and a half. How many people will wear some form of an American flag on their shirt at PBR or on their person?
It's 51 and a half. Is the number.
51.
Now, mind you, to tell you guys what happened. Me and Dame, we played this game. We had already been there for about an hour.
Yep.
We put it at, I think, 20.
Yep.
And it went way over.
Blew past it. In a single hour. How many shirts?
Going more.
Yeah. I am wearing my PBR hat. It does not have an American flag on it.
Well, Hector does have a point. Just make trades great again. At least for us.
People were asking. I did find the hat. I had lost it. It's been missing, and I found it this afternoon. I was searching for it.
Well, that's really what we were all concerned about.
I thought you were wearing a cowboy hat.
You did say you were wearing a cowboy hat with the big
I was
belt
going to
buckle.
try to get a gigantic cowboy hat and a gigantic belt buckle. We just didn't have enough time. And I won't get into the other aspect of it. I wasn't going to invest. And then figured now I probably could invest, but I'm not going to.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine De'Aaron Fox is traded and the most prominent Kings reporter can't report on it because he's at the bull riding show?
If he would have got all that stuff. I'm going live here on the Kings beat. De'Aaron Fox, he didn't got traded.
D'Lo and Casey are like, where are James and Kyle? They're riding. They're at the bull riding expo, or they're with the old PBR guys.
I gotta blend in. De'Aaron Fox, he did get traded here, and it looks like he's going to the Alamo. And we're reporting live here.
The hell is the De'Aaron Fox? Get out of the way! Yeah, that's tough. I'm praying for you, James. Praying for you, Kyle. You guys got this.
Oh man,
I don't even know what to say.
James's worst nightmare was just lived out on the radio. De'Aaron Fox getting traded while he's at the PBR. Goodness gracious. James, I think you'll enjoy the PBR tonight because I don't think that's happening.
All right.
But I do wonder if a trade happens this weekend. I do wonder if things are quiet and they are trying to work on something, maybe nuance, detail, whatever. Maybe they can't get it done today. Maybe they got a game tomorrow. I do wonder what happens if, and again, this could happen no matter what the circumstance, because it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. What's the temperament if they lose by 20 plus tomorrow?
Oh.
Again,
I mean-
it could happen. Like if nothing that happened this week had happened, they could still lose by 20. But,
I think you have your
man,
built-in
it's not gonna
excuse.
feel the same. It's not going to
No.
feel the same.
Jesse was talking about this earlier. Like we're going to overanalyze these moments, even if it has nothing to do with it. But that's part of the distraction element of him still being there.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I mean, if you traded him today, you would go into tomorrow's game missing, a bunch of players, and you wouldn't have the new players in. Like, this is a trade deadline. There are always going to be games that are part of the losing. They're part of the trade deadline experience. That there's no way to get around it. I think all of us were excited because you're going to face New Orleans 3 times out of 4 games coming out of the break, right? And like, oh, that team could totally look different. And then this happened. And maybe it's the Kings look totally different. Maybe it's the Kings that just get absolutely run over because they have so much going on. Again, shout out to my guy Doug, who's got to hold these guys together. This is not an easy job right now. And I've seen so many trade deadlines and just what it does to some of the players. Everyone handles it differently. Some guys are like, oh yeah, this is fine. Some guys are like, oh man, like the NBA is a small world. We'll see each other again. It's not that big of a deal. But this really is like heading towards the end of a school year. And then you come back the next year and like 5 of your buddies are no longer there. And you're like, what happened? I mean, that like pre-cell phone world that I grew up in, where it's like, hey, like, where do they go? And like, oh, so-and-so moved to Kentucky. You're like, what? Like, oh, all right. Well, that's a bummer. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for being with us today. Thank you everyone for being with us this week. We got to head over to 102.5. If anything happens while we're over there, we'll just go live again. And Kyle and James will be at the bull riding show. So we'll bring you coverage though. I'll tell you that. And if anything happens over the weekend, y'all know what to do, man. If you're new to the channel, hit the little alert button. If you're listening on the radio, you probably have to go to social over the weekend. But either way, man, we'll have you covered. We appreciate you so much for being with us.